Hello everyone, hi. Thanks so much for inviting me here today. My name is Mike Royston, I'm the Business Development Manager for Crowdcube, which is an equity crowdfunding platform. So we are the world's first and leading equity crowdfunding platform in the world. So in essence what that means is that you invest in a business, pooling together small investments from the crowd to get real shares in the business. Okay, we're only a young company. We've only been running about 3 years now, but we've had a huge amount of success in that short time. And I'm just going to explain a little bit about what we do. And then I'm also going to touch on the UK as a whole and the landscape of the market, because we seem to be quite advanced and ahead of the game in terms of what we're doing. So I'll start with the problem. So essentially, there's a real difficulty in raising finance for your business from traditional means. We were set up by two entrepreneurs who were facing this exact problem. Having access to funding from banks is very, very difficult at the moment, especially in the UK with the economic downturn. Then you've also got VC funding and kind of angel investment. And there's a lot of issues with this as well, especially if you're not based in a centre like London, in a real hub where there's lots of activity going on. It's very hard to access and to find. Often the problems are that you give away more equity in your business than you usually would or would be happy to. So Darren and Luke were facing these two problems. The entrepreneurs behind the business were facing these problems, and essentially what they came up with was an idea where they thought, I'd love to pool together smaller investments, just like Dragon's Den. Essentially, instead of pitching your business to the dragons in the den, what you do is you put it up online and you ask the crowd of people to put in small amounts to help fund your business. There's a very, very low barrier to entry. So you can invest in a business from only £10. It's very, very easy. We make it really easy and fun. And it's it's very, very different to the traditional forms of raising finance. So what we want to do is democratize that whole process of investment. And what we've been is the leaders in kind of driving this forward. We're fully regulated by the FCA, it's the Final Financial Conduct Authority. So I know we've been talked a little bit about regulation today, but in the UK we've kind of pushed this forward and really fought for being regulated, and we've managed to pass it. So this is something that's really important to us, and it gives us a lot of credibility. So I'll just show you, I'm sure some of you will already know this and see this, but I just wanted to give you an overview. This is what the site looks like. You've got how much you're looking to raise, you set a target, and it's all or nothing. So unless you reach 100% of the amount that you need, no funds transfer, no money changes hands. So that's what makes us quite unique, but across the board in a lot of platforms do kind of something similar. So what we try and do is to make it really, really engaging and fun. Online it's really visual, it's very, very powerful. People's attention spans online are very, very short. So having a great video is really essential. Great branding. People will be turned off on an idea in an absolute instant because they don't like your branding. Something so insignificant, you would think, actually makes a huge difference when it comes to putting up your business online. So this business here has a target of £75,000, offering 20% equity, and they're about 37% of their way to their target. It generally runs for about a month or two, and if they don't hit that in the time, then like I say, no funds change hands. We also make it social. We make it easy to share using social media, email. We'd encourage events, online and offline, and making it as kind of engaging as you possibly can. So you do just need to do a little bit more than just post it online and hope that it funds. What you need to do is be quite proactive in marketing yourself. So like I say, the video as well. What we have as well is information that real serious investors would need to see. So for example, you need a full business plan, some financial forecasts for 3 years, and we do have these fantastic tax incentives in the UK, which was talked about briefly before. You can specify what those are to your crowd as well. We have created a new type, a class of share to deal with the issues of crowdfunding, because I think a lot of people would be very worried about having lots of investors in their business. The admin having to keep up with them is pretty scary. But what we've done is created a share type which means that they don't have any voting or preemption rights, and they have drag and tag rights, which essentially mean that they have no say in the day-to-day running of the business, but they do have the same rights to economic dividends as every other investor. So, where our success comes from is only because of the success of the entrepreneurs and the businesses behind them. So these are a few of the people that we've funded, and I'll just go through a few of their fantastic stories. In the top right-hand corner, I don't know if any of you recognise him, but he's a celebrity personality in the UK who has a programme on Channel 4, which is called Grand Designs. And he managed to raise £1.9 million for his sustainable architecture company called Hab Housing. And he raised that from over 650 investors. So huge amount of traction, lots of exposure, lots of social media sharing, and they were really brilliant at kind of communicating what the offer was, what the proposition was, and to use the platform to point everyone towards. Then you've got a few others of my favourites. Food and drink businesses work really, really well. We've had 7 breweries fund on Crowdcube now. People love beer, that's all I can say. So the food and drink works fantastically well. I think anything that's a product-based business that has something that's tangible, where people can see and feel and touch, they work better than a more complex business model. But we've had success in a huge amount of different areas. This is Simon Thompson here. He has a financial forecasting business. It's very boring, but he explained it in a very compelling way, and it got funded, which is great. So like I say, we've had a huge amount of success. Over £20 million in that short 3 years since we launched. Over 100 different businesses. But what is really, really exciting is our number of investors. So we have a huge database of over 65,000 registered investors on the site. There's a huge amount of potential. With that crowd behind you, what you can do, asking for small amounts from a lot of people, is you'll get a vast array of different investors. Some that will like to give just £10, £20, £100, small amounts. And then the people that are going to be putting in £100,000, £200,000, really substantial amounts of money. We also have institutions. So we have some angel networks and syndicates and kind of professional investors which will also co-invest alongside the crowd. But you need both. They work hand in hand. What you need is the validation from the smaller investors, the number of investors saying yes to your business, giving feedback as well. And once they've been a critical mass of people saying yes to the business, that's when it gets very exciting to a larger investor. So like I say, we've been successful in a whole host of different categories, including oil and gas, film and television, sport and leisure. But generally what works best is retail, food and drink, and professional internet tech businesses. Because I think mainly people can see that there's a high growth potential in those kind of businesses. It could take off and become the next big Facebook thing. So where we generally have been most successful is between £50,000 and £150,000. That's generally where we've had most success. But we've had 3 projects over £1 million, and it looks like it's rising. So, like I mentioned, Hab Housing, £1.9 million. That was a really cool business. He did fantastically well. Escape the City was a really interesting one as well. They actually had VCs funding on the table. So they said no to their VCs because they didn't want to agree to the terms that the VCs were investing under. What they did was they gave away less equity, they had more control over what they were doing, and they gave away slightly less of their business in essence. But what they did was bring on new customers. So instead of just getting one angel with some experience, they brought on angel investors invested in the round, as well as new potential customers, some people that introduced them to some contacts, and they brought someone onto their board. So they wanted to take a more active role in the business. So they had a hugely successful promotion and marketing, everything combined together to make them successful. They didn't just get the money. The money was good, but what else they got was really, really beneficial to them. So this is interesting. The creators of Crowdcube, Darren and Luke, who I mentioned, their first business was this one here called Crowdfunder, which is a rewards-based platform. And they sold that business and it merged with another company. Now they're looking to raise money on Crowdcube to crowdfund their business, which is a bit confusing, I know, but it just shows that there's a lot of potential in this. I think they have a fantastic business model and they are doing very, very well. Their focus is on community projects in local regions in the UK, and they've done a lot. They've got a lot of deal flow, much more than Crowdcube does, but it's all for small amounts. So small amounts of money up to a few £1,000s. And they'll be launching on the site actually today. So I just thought enjoyable. It's really engaging and exciting to see that the progress bar is moving along. And if they don't succeed, it's, they're not going to succeed. But that's what our investors say. We do make it professional, but it's also quite exciting. So like I mentioned, the benefits to the entrepreneur is not just getting the money. You get marketing, you get feedback, you get the promotion and the PR. Lots of people will want to write articles about a business that's been successfully funded on our Crowdcube. We're a very, very hot topic at the moment. I mean, I think everyone in this room agrees that it's something very innovative that people are getting quite excited about the potential of. It's also very cost effective. We only charge success if based on success. So we take 5% only if you reach 100% of your target. This is to mitigate any risk for the entrepreneur. If they don't succeed, so what? They don't lose a penny. Bit of time and effort. I think this is a really, really good way. We were creating it for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs. And yes, so I'll talk a little bit about the overall vision of Crowdcube. We have got quite exciting plans for international expansion. We already have Crowdcube Sweden and Crowdcube Denmark running at the moment. And we've signed contracts in France, Spain, Italy, Poland, Dubai, and that's going to be for the Middle East region, and also Brazil. So the idea is they're going to have a joint venture on the ground, working with their country's investors and the country's businesses and bringing them both together. The vision in the grand scheme of things is one day there'll be cross-border investment. So if you're a business in Poland, you can get investment from an investor in Brazil. One day that is the vision. We haven't figured out how to do it yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. So we have had a huge amount of success in the last 12 months. Okay, I just made some notes from listening earlier. So there were some questions on regulation, and there's obviously different regulations in different countries around Europe. So what we're doing is working with people that understand how that's working, and then when the regulation is passed, they'll be able to implement that. The UK is doing fantastic things. Like I mentioned earlier, the UK government is offering tax incentives called SEIS and EIS to help inspire people to invest in early stage businesses. This is something that's kind of very, very innovative and leading the way, which is helping platforms like us to succeed. But I think one of the main issues around crowdfunding at the moment is about awareness. very, very few people know what crowdfunding is. I think I read a statistic, it was 58% of people had never heard of crowdfunding in the UK. When it becomes much more common, much more mainstream, the potential for this and businesses to get funding is going to be huge. And the other thing that the UK has been very successful at is kind of leading the way. So in debt and equity and in kind of donation, we're not very far behind the US in terms of donation. And in the US, it's not even legal to have debt and and equity at the moment. I think in the next year, maybe, they will be starting to see the regulations passed. But we've had a huge amount of success already, so we can help to learn, share that information. So education, I think, is really crucial, not just for investors or for entrepreneurs, but for the whole ecosystem. So universities, mentors, you've got the general public, incubators, all of these individual organizations need to know what the potential of crowdfunding is to be able to recommend it and to use it effectively for it to be successful. And I think in the UK we've done very well at educating everyone but the general public. So I think that's the next step that we're going to be working towards. But something that the government has done which is brilliant is launched a website to help educate business owners to which platform to use. Because obviously, if you're looking to raise money and you're looking at alternative finance, you might be very confused. So what they've got is it's questions, simple questions, which acts like a flow chart where you will see how much you're looking to raise, and it will highlight which platforms would be most relevant and most useful for you. So if I'm looking to raise between £1,000 and £5,000, go for a grant. If you're looking to raise between £1 million and £3 million, maybe this kind of alternative finance platform, lending platform might be useful. So this government website is something very, very easy to implement, but it's great that it's got the support behind it. And I think that's something that maybe every country could do in a simple way to drive things forward. I do believe, and I think many of us here believe, that this is the future of finance. It's the future of investment in the UK and across the world, really. So it's fantastic that so many people are here today kind of talking about it. That's me. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mike. Has anyone got any questions?
We were talking today about these shares. If I, for example, invest in some company and I buy the shares of the company, could I sell these shares to other investors or no? Or is it forbidden?
So there's no secondary market at the moment. The only way that you'll get your money back is when the company makes an exit or floats on a stock exchange, or there's a management buyback of shares. They're the three options at the moment. But we are looking into secondary markets, being able to trade shares on a kind of external site. So one day that will definitely be possible.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Who decides how much equity is worth which percentage?
So the valuation of the companies is really important. We take a kind of hands-off approach. What we do is we point people towards where we've had success, but ultimately it's their choice and their business how much they want to give away and what they think they're worth. So obviously we can advise, but we never say, no, your valuation is too big, you can't come raise money. We'll leave that to the investors to decide.
But how much, let's say, do you expect from your investors? There will be professional investors,
So
but there will also be the crowd, and the crowd just follows what's online.
potentially, yes. So there is the potential to be overvalued, I agree. But what you'll find is the serious investors will look very carefully at that. And you'll need a huge amount of traction from a lot of people, a lot of smaller investors to be successful. So they kind of work in tandem with each other.
And do you see also, let's say, the rate of success going up when larger investors go into the proposal and then attract the smaller ones?
Yes, so anchoring the round, having the first 25% from an angel investor is a huge stamp of approval. It's a good validation, which inspires the crowd.
Yes.
But I think the other way round is probably better, having a large number of people and then inspiring a larger investment, because if you have just one person sitting on 50%, people are not going to pay that much interest. There's a lot of kind of social psychology behind investment, and why you think to yourself all these crazy things. Oh, why can't he get his friends, his family, his mum to invest in his company? It's like, so you need both, I think.
Sure. Okay.
Mike, thank you for your presentation. I think here we have the real application of this, because as I understand, you have already run this, right? So first question, if I don't get it very well, you have branches in Denmark, on other countries, or you have investors from there?
Both. So individual country will have their own investors and their own businesses. So they will be their own individual platform for that country, linking investors with businesses.
Yes, but your crowdfunding has those branches there. From Denmark, they asked information from you, and you went there and created something, or just?
What we do is we find a partner to work with on the ground.
Yes.
So they will have the experience to be able to bring deal flow, bringing businesses and investors together.
All right.
And we create the portal for them to use, and using our experience.
Right.
But it's solely run and owned by them.
And you have, for the rest, you have a connection with them. You have a part of this platform created in Denmark, for example, or you just gave your know-how and you leave?
Obviously, we will encourage as much individualization and personalization of the website as possible, but still remaining, the kind of parent company. So yes, there is some input they have into the site itself, but it'll be driven by the UK.
All right. And I found very interesting what you said about the UK government, who created the liaison, the way to find out how
the website
how
is a fantastic idea, and it was only in the last few weeks that this has been launched. I think it's a really good thing. I was involved in the talks with Westminster about crowdfunding and just making the awareness in the UK. And the first thing that everyone said, that I'm confused. I don't know which platform to use. I don't know how we can implement it. So having something like this is really important.
And how many people work at the Crowdcube?
It's about 17 now.
17 now. All right. Okay.
With lots of advisors as well, mentors.
And just a practical question as well. I'm an investor. I pass from your platform. I have to give 100 or 1,000 euros. There is a bank account in which I have to put this money.
So we don't hold any money. It will come straight from your account to the entrepreneur directly.
So you take from one account and you put it to the other account.
We use a third-party payment provider, much like PayPal, which will enable the transaction to happen with our fees siphoned off.
Okay, and this is regulated by the
Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it has the FCA? Does it has something to do with the Bank of England or?
No, we don't have anything like that.
But this is a state institution. This is an institution of the United Kingdom, the FCA.
This is the kind of the regulating body which controls financial investment. So we have to be compliant with the rules around a financial promotion. So we're not allowed to favour any one pitch over any other. But what we can help to do is to help them market themselves. And we can send out in our newsletter, which is regulated. So everything in there has been checked. We do our due diligence on every business and every claim that is made to make sure that it is compatible.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Mike. So,
there.
what are your fees?
It's 5% plus
5%.
VAT.
Okay.
And then we've got the legal side of things, which we have third-party solicitors who will close the round, who will create the new articles of association, draw up any shareholders agreement, waiver of preemption rights, and then issue the shares.
Mhm.
And that's the fee of 1,750, but payable to a third party.
Right.